Hello and welcome to Bite Me, and this is a very special episode.
Very special. Why is that, Martin?
Well, there's no video this week because we're actually together recording.
We've just watched a top-notch episode, not the episode we're talking about right now, but we have just watched an episode of Buffy together for the very first time.
Yeah, I've come all the way down to Eastbourne, and I'm here, and we're recording in, what would you call this, Finnish Big Towers?
Hampton with a blunt pen knife.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, there's lots of them now, isn't there?
There is. There's a little industry going on here.
Empire, I
An
call
empire.
it. Yeah.
In Sunnydale's halls, a witch's curse did brew. Buffy faced a challenge anew, a cheerleader's dreams, a dark secret concealed. In the world of the supernatural, all was revealed. Amy Madison, a name known to some, a switch of bodies, her mother's aim had become. With spells and potions, the drama did unfold, as Buffy fought the magic. Her courage bold, a tale of identity, power and fear. In Buffy's world, the supernatural is near. The stakes were raised so high as Buffy and friends watched the broomsticks fly. With strength and wit, she'd always persist. In every episode, Buffy faced the abyss, but which remains a memorable delight in the annuals of the Slayer's epic fight.
Which is the first standalone episode of Buffy, isn't it?
That's the first one not written by Joss Whedon.
Who writes this one then?
Dana Reston?
Dana Reston. I don't recognise that name. I don't think she writes many.
This is the only one she writes.
Oh, that's a shame because
Yeah.
I think this is a good script.
It's a strong one.
It's a script with a big twist at its heart, and it has to do a lot of work
Yeah.
to get to that moment when you realise, spoilers for anybody that hasn't done the run yet, that Amy is not Amy. Amy is her mother, and the mother that we meet is Amy. They've done a body swap.
Yeah. There's never been a bad body swap film or TV show.
I do think Buffy bests this in later years, though.
Yeah.
In series 4.
But I don't think I've ever seen a bad one.
No, I can't think. Well, it gives them a chance. It gives the actors a chance to do something a bit more
Play something
interesting.
different.
What's weird is they didn't choose any of the regulars.
Yeah,
for
you
this
think
one.
they would have done that. Yeah. And this is the first episode where the villain isn't a vampire.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. In fact, as we go through this season, there's a lot of, there's the praying mantis. There's a lot of villains about that are vampire. And I do like that because it gives me that sort of X-Files Monster of the Week vibe
Yeah.
that they do every now and again. But yeah, I think Buffy sort of touching on witchcraft and things like that, and obviously that's something that gets massive in later seasons, it's good. Because I think if they had done just vampires, it might have been a bit of a one-note show.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have got old very quickly. Yeah, I'm glad. Oh, yeah, I love the human element of this. Charisma Carpenter got to show off her
Jesus.
cheerleader experience.
I'm sure you didn't object to that at all. Yeah.
I did not as a teenager. Even though I was a 41-year-old man, I did not.
Xander was appreciating it as well. What does he say? Stretchy goodness. Something
Yeah.
like that.
There's a lot of lines in this you wouldn't say nowadays. But, it's a different era.
Do you know, watching through this first season, I'm noticing a lot of lines where I'm going, would they do this now? But, it's all part of fun.
Yeah. No, she used to be, Charisma Carpenter, she used to be a cheerleader for the San Diego Cowboys, I think, or Chargers.
Well, I don't think Sarah Michelle Gellar was, because the sequence where she has to pretend to be a cheerleader is... But you know what I love about this is... I think maybe it's this episode is where you really get to see Buffy as that sort of dizzy, blonde teenager.
Yeah.
You lose that completely in later seasons, don't you? Like, she becomes very mature, very serious. And I love that about her here. The bit where she's in the kitchen going, macho, macho man. Oh, juice. And drinking her mum's juice. I think she's a lot of fun. I like the sort of laid-back Buffy.
Yeah, it's nice to see her actually be a teenager, and you get reminded that, because obviously they're all in their 20s, and we watch this, and there's a disconnect when you watch it because they're older than what they're playing. So it's nice whenever you get this little episode where you're like, oh yeah, these are just 16-year-old kids.
You keep saying they're in their 20s, I'm perfectly convinced they're younger than that. I think back in the day, I never ever thought they were in their mid-20s watching this. But then I think I've been programmed with like movies all the time and things like that. They did this a lot, didn't they?
90210 had like 40-year-olds playing TV. Yeah.
High School Musical.
Grease.
Yeah, Grease. They're in their 50s and now. I think Stockard Channing's about 45, pretending to be a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, shocking. Can we please talk about Joyce
Yes.
in this episode? Because I love Joyce, but she's like, doesn't she say like, oh yeah, not yet? She says to Buffy, like she's gonna get in trouble. She expects her to fail in this new town. And that plays throughout the episode. At the end, Joyce says, oh, I don't get it, and I don't get you, and that's all right, and we're going to learn this together. But I was like, maybe she was a bit unlikable in this. Like, she's not given her a chance.
Just a bit. It's weird watching this as an older man now, because my crush is shifting from Buffy and Alison Hannigan
Joyce.
and on to Joyce.
Okay. Oh, you like a mum, dear?
Well, I guess
a MILF.
I guess it's just age appropriate now.
Mid-20s, you're all right. You're okay with the young ones, okay? I still think Nicholas Brendan's a hottie.
Oh, even I will admit when he's in those trunks.
Oh,
later on.
Bloody hell. Okay, we'll get there. We will get there. But no, like, I do think they handled Joyce quite delicately throughout series 1 and 2. I do think there's a couple of times where they drop the ball and she's not very nice. And I didn't really like her in this one. Which is a shame because I thought everybody else was handled quite sympathetically and quite engagingly.
Yeah, they're just still trying to figure out the characters here. This is very much they're finding their feet. Because originally, Joss Whedon didn't want to have any parents in Buffy, but he relented and brought in Joyce.
Can I ask you a question? I've written down here, I've got my notes in front of me. I put the sunny innocence of the early episodes. But there is something, isn't there, very light about these standalones in series 1, which I think when we get into 2 and the emotion gets a bit darker and the relationships get a bit deeper, you lose a bit of it. There's a nice lightness to these early episodes.
I think the great thing this show does is it ages with the audience. So they were like, right, they're 16 now, they're 17, they're 18, they're 19, and it gets more and more emotionally involved as it goes on. And later on, when they're like 22, 23, they're getting careers and going to college, and you see that aspect of it. And I think that's what this show does really well. So, yeah, it's nice to go back and get this kind of lighter storytelling. They just kind of fancy someone. And
I can see why the audience latched onto this.
Oh, yeah.
I think if they'd have started with something like Series 6, with everyone miserable and, on the verge of slashing their wrists, I think it would have been a different matter altogether. However, this show still has a bite, because I'll tell you what, Cordelia was a bitch in this.
Yes.
She's horrible. Hey, she's doing cheerleading routine with Amy, and Amy falls and knocks her over, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to make you regret that. And then she comes at her, doesn't she, in the locker room? Oh, I think she's too nice in this.
Do you notice 2 characters get mentioned in this episode? I think Amy says that Cordelia was trained by Amber, and then later on someone says Benson. And just completely coincidentally, Amber Benson would later play Tara.
I mean, that's got to be a coincidence. That's just the actress's name, right? And they haven't met her yet in the casting.
It's pure coincidence. It's one of those great kind of...
But, I knew there was this sort of... I knew Cordelia had a nasty tongue. But I was really taken aback at how nasty she was.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we're supposed to feel sorry for her because she's in the car and she has her eyesight taken away and all sorts of terrible things are going on with her. I thought the effect of just putting the white contact lenses in her eyes was really creepy too. But yeah, nasty.
I remember absolutely hating Cordelia. First time round. I hated it the whole way through. And jumping ahead, season 4, episode 1, she's not in it. I didn't notice.
Oh, really?
And then I watched Angel and I was like, oh, fuck, they've put her in this.
Because you and I have just watched an episode together, right? Yeah. And I was chuckling away. But the second Cordelia turned up, I was howling.
You were, yeah. I mean, because I know her evolution and stuff and where she ends up, I can tolerate the character now. But back in the day, I hated her.
That is the joy of this, though, isn't it? Is that they managed to take somebody who appears very one-note and, just the horrible school bully and then make her incredibly sympathetic. Yeah, that's a skill, though. That is a skill.
We also get Amy introduced in this episode, and she comes back throughout the series.
I'd forgotten that was so early, because she is right up until Series 7, isn't she?
Yeah.
In, I think, what's probably the worst Series 7 episodes between you and me, spoilers. I thought she was very well done here, but she's not the character she is later.
No, she's very innocent here.
Yeah. And she's sort of the idea behind the story, isn't it? Is that it's the domineering mother that's trying to live vicariously through the child because the mother's had this spectacular success as a cheerleader. She's got the trophy in the cabinet and all of this, to the point where she's using witchcraft to be inside her daughter's body so she can relive her cheerleading days.
Yeah.
It's cleverly done.
It's cleverly done. And yeah, she's such a good actress because she's able to convey both of those personalities. And first of all, you just think that Amy's just in her mum's shadow and she just wants to be more like her mum to please her. And then you realise, no, it's her mum trying to recapture those glory days. And I think we see this a lot. Like, my son plays football sometimes and you'll see the dad standing on the sideline and they're out of shape now and their prime's behind them. And you can tell they had the tryouts for Chelsea one day and it just didn't work out for them. And now they want their little boy to go on and do it. And you can see them really putting the pressure on the kid.
Can we have a therapy moment again?
Go on then.
I'm going to try and do one per episode. Right? I think I'll do
I've got nothing for this one. So.
Oh, I do. But it's sort of the reverse because I don't want to speak ill of my mum. I lost my mum 4 years ago. But we had a very complex relationship. And she didn't really do too much with her life. She didn't leave her hometown. She didn't go anywhere and do anything. When I chose to do that, to leave Crawley, to head over to Colombia and do volunteer work and all this, she really pushed again. She was like the anti-Amy's mum. It wasn't that she wanted me to see. She wanted me to have a very sort of small life like she had. There was so much unfulfilled potential with her that she actually pushed back when I was going out and fulfilling my potential. So I saw this, but from completely the other angle.
Oh, wow. So was she like, you don't need to go to Colombia, you can Google it?
Actually, the exact line she said to me was, "Why are you going to Colombia when there's?" Because I went to volunteer in an orphanage for 3 months. She said, "When there's kids that need your help here." I went, because I want to have a life experience. That's why. So I get it. This sort of complex parent-child relationship, and sort of either living your life through their eyes or being jealous that they're having a great life that you never had. That's the thing that Buffy does really well. It taps into that stuff. So whilst I was watching that, I was getting sort of like, God, wow. I can remember this from when I was younger.
So I remember feeling a bit alienated because all of like my cousins, everyone in my family, they're either sporty or they're builders or they've gone into a trade. And there was me, like 14, going, "Oh, I like musical theatre." And no wonder everyone in my family thought I was gay for like the longest time. I think there's still some friends of my mum's that like that poor girl when they see me with Penny.
I don't listen to this with you saying that you had sex with David Boreanaz when you were younger. Well, we knew it. Have you heard that Bite Me podcast? He's basically coming out. You know?
That poor girl, let me say.
I would like to talk about Elizabeth Ann Allen, though.
Yeah.
I thought was a great choice because she has to play the scenes where Amy's mum, and this is before we know it's Amy's mum in her head, is going, "Oh, Buffy, trying to get my hair from my hairbrush." And so we all think for a while that Amy's just a cow.
Yeah.
Until the twist hits. And then she has to play Amy as the victim at the end, who's confronting her mum. And then in the last couple of scenes, she's sort of like, getting her confidence. So she goes on a little journey across 45 minutes here. I thought she acquitted herself really well. I'm not too sure what else she's done, though.
I don't think I've seen her in anything.
No.
I love that when she's in her mum's body and she comes home and she just jumps up and starts dusting the TV. That's kind of what I do when Penny gets in. I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't been sitting there.
Jesus, I don't look at the state of this place. I don't do none of that here. You'd think there was something suspicious going wrong, but I did do that.
What's going on?
In fact, I was cleaning the shelves at work the other day, and I was going, "Oh, please don't tell my other half I did this." He expect me to do this at home. I can see why they picked her up again, though, Amy.
Oh, yeah, she's a good character.
And what's really interesting is this is the first step, really, to Evil Willow. Seasons down the line, so this is the first time we're looking at magic. And I don't think we come back here again until...
It's a while.
Is it Gingerbread in Series 3?
Yeah, and this is the first use of the dark eyes.
Oh, yeah.
When there's powerful magic at work.
How scary was the mum? When she's back being the mum again, she's like, "You evil little witch."
She was great as well. She sold both parts.
Yeah. You know what? It's only doing this recording that I'm like, actually, I'm surprised they didn't choose one of the regulars. for this. It could have been like Willow and her mum or something like that, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. We only ever see Willow's mum once
Yeah.
in 7 years.
She wasn't that great, though.
No, to be honest.
I can kind of understand why. Did you notice that Buffy, during her delirious state, drinking the orange juice, mentioned to her mum that she was a vampire slayer? I know, I was like, Joyce, pay attention. She's trying to tell you something.
Well, Joyce does. She's like, a what? And then she just thinks it's some, like, maybe a kid's thing she doesn't understand.
What did you think of because we talked a lot about the execution in the first 2 episodes. What did you think about the sort of climactic finale with all the magic effects?
I thought it looked pretty good.
Oh,
Still stands up.
Yeah.
Still stands up really well.
And I've just got to say it once again. The bit where the light hits her face and the wind machine's going, that's the bit from the title sequence, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I love spotting little bits from the title sequence. And I didn't skip the titles this time when I watched it.
As you shouldn't.
I felt dirty last time when I
felt dirty last time when you said that. I've got a few quotes that I wrote down, because I think this is a good one for Giles as well, when he says to her at the beginning, you enslave yourself to this cult, when she's talking about her being a cheerleader. But then later on, remember I said to you in The Harvest, he's going on about being excited about, and he goes, that's the thrill of living on the Hellmouth. I think he can't wait for the next bloody thing to come along.
I bet when you're a watcher, you train your entire life because you might get a Slayer. I don't know what the equivalent would be. I guess it's like maybe training to be a footballer. You might get the call up and go pro. Maybe that's what it's like. So when you get the call up to go and live on the Hellmouth, that must be like I bet other watchers are jealous of him because he's the one there on the Hellmouth.
Bastard Giles has gone off to California.
Yeah.
Well, and I suppose it's interesting later, isn't it, when we see Wesley. I know you didn't get on with him initially, but that's a watcher that's kind of gone down another path. He's totally green, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he has it. So in the first one where he's confronted with a vampire, he's like screaming, isn't he? He's like trying to hit him with the Bible. It's terrible. And then when you meet Quentin and the Watchers Council, and you realise just how regulated and strict this all is.
Yeah, it's a shame that Ripper spin-off didn't happen, because we could have explored this dynamic more, because he was always the outsider, wasn't he, Giles?
Filmed in England. It would have been filmed in England as well.
BBC Two series.
You and me could have gone on, Ripper.
To Bath. It was going to be filmed in Bath.
Oh, blimey. I don't know if I got that far.
That's where Auntie Stuart Head lives. They were going to
okay.
Because, in Series 6 where Willow goes to stay with him, that was filmed at his actual property.
The insane thing you told me about these 2 non-creatives that stopped this happening. Unbelievable. Did you hear the line?
Sorry, Siri's trying to send an email.
There was another really funny line as well, where someone went, why would anyone want to hurt Cordelia? And Willow goes, because they've met her. that sort of quick, that's the sort of wit I really wish I had in everyday life.
Yeah, I kind of think of stuff I should have said later.
Afterwards, yeah. Well, sometimes I do think of a line from Buffy or Doctor Who or something like that. I get it in the moment. But 9 times out of 10, I just stand there silent.
Maybe that's what all writers do. Maybe when they're writing this stuff, it's what they wish they'd said to the school bully.
The only other thing I really wrote about this was, I did think, have you ever seen the film Bring It On?
Yes.
I watched that about 10 times at the cinema when it came out. And it certainly wasn't because I was admiring the cheerleaders. It was just this very energetic, very funny cheerleader movie, wasn't it, with Kirsten Dunst and Eliza Dushku.
Eliza Dushku's in that, yeah.
Actually, she did look hot. Now, you said about David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
I would go there.
Oh, wow.
We might have some trouble in Series 3, when we get there. But this captured that same sort of vibe. There was a real sort of bounce pace. There was a lot of fun music. That sort of slow motion chanting and that euphoria and energy that you get from the crowd in cheerleading. There's a sequence where the mum, as Amy, is having a cheerleading sequence. She's there and the crowd's cheering. It goes into slow motion and she's just loving every second of it. You get a second to empathise with her and see this is what she had as a kid. She's lost it now as an adult, and this is what she's trying to capture again. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the means that she goes to get it, but it captures that sort of energy, that youthful energy, and being part of something like cheerleading really, really well. I think this is quite underrated, this episode.
It's a good one. It's a good one, and it steers the direction that the franchise would go in. And yeah, I liked seeing it because I don't know, cheerleading's not really a thing over here.
No.
A couple of people do it, like you'll go somewhere and there'll be some cheerleaders, but it always feels a little bit odd. Like you don't go and see like Arsenal play and there's cheerleaders. It just isn't done.
But there is genuine competitions there, isn't there? And some people go to the matches for the cheerleaders rather than for the matches.
Well, yeah, the cheerleaders can be celebrities in the US. Like they can have their own careers.
But they are. I mean, they are gymnasts, aren't they? They do incredible things with their bodies.
Yeah, it's incredible. But yeah, we don't get that. And also here, we got a lot of pervy comments from Xander. What I don't think they would do these days. But I guess in the 90s, it was fine to show that teenage boys were perverts.
The one thing I'm learning watching my way through Series 1 is Xander is consistently horny in every episode for every woman that's around, except the woman who's looking at him, and that's Willow.
Yeah.
Oh, Willow.
Oh, Willow. You can do better.
Have I got anything else here at all? Hang on a second. No, just that I think this is the template for early Buffy. Just hanging out with the regulars, solving a mystery, and just simple storytelling with sort of a nice emotional edge to it without it being too intense. I think this is really watchable stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And what about the fate of the mums at the end?
that was the cheesiest bit of the whole episode. Yeah, she's the statue, isn't she?
Yeah.
The special effect of the eyes moving was terrible.
So she would have been in there when all that stuff in season 3 kicks off.
I think we go back to it, don't we? Don't we see that statue again?
We might do, yeah.
I don't know if you see I don't know if it's still screaming like that. But, I mean, there's an even worse fate coming for Amy for a couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah.
But do you know what? For once...
We won't spoil that. Before we go, we should bring up the recent news that was announced 2 days after we recorded our last episode.
Can we please just say something else now? Do you know what, Martin? I'd love to see a live-action Buffy movie in the works. Folks, wait 48 hours. It's going to come true.
I imagine this might have a lot to do with the writer's strike, the actor's strike, because audio acting isn't covered by the Screen Actors Guild, so you can go off and do that. Like Alison Hannigan is going off to do, what's the American Strictly called? Dancing with the Stars.
Is she?
She's going off to do that. And that's because that's not covered by that union, so she can do it. That's why all the British and Australian actors have gone back to their countries.
Suddenly, the hottest property in the UK, David Tennant, is doing Doctor Who audios during the pandemic and during the strikes. Yeah,
and so there's a Buffy Buffyverse audio drama on the way from Audible.
You know, you said to me that every single member of the cast is in it. Is Sarah Michelle Gellar doing it?
She's the only one who's not coming back.
Ah, shite.
She said she's got no interest in playing the character again.
I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I do kind of get it, because that was, 20-odd years ago, and she has moved on.
It's a miracle that any of the cast want to come back for this.
So, can you just detail who is coming back?
So, Spike's coming back, Drusilla, Cordelia. So what happens is it's set 20 years after the events of the finale. Yeah. Spike is undercover as an evil villain in LA.
Of course.
And he stumbles across a young Slayer, and he's trying to find her a watcher, and they stumble into a parallel universe where Cordelia is the Slayer.
No. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
That's the story.
Did you say Drusilla?
Drusilla's back.
Oh, man, I loved her so much.
I think Darla's back.
Do you remember this? Look at me, dearie. Yeah. She was so scary.
I'm looking forward to this.
Willow as well.
Yeah. I wish Big Finish were doing it.
Yeah.
Because I've not heard any of Audible's original dramas yet.
Oh, I'm sure they're to a good standard. But Big Finish is so competently made these days. They do a great job of it.
But we'll see. I've pre-ordered it. So,
well, don't worry, folks. We're going to cover it. We're going to cover the comics. We're going to cover the audios. We're going to do the whole run.
In Sunnydale High, where darkness did creep, a tale and teacher's pet did secrets keep, a substitute teacher, alluring and strange, an arachnid creature ready to exchange. In the guise of Miss French, she wove her web. With charms and allure, she turned heads instead. Xander, enchanted by her alluring grace, became ensnared in her deadly embrace. A monster disguised, with venomous intent, she preyed on the hearts of the innocent. Buffy, the Slayer, would not be deceived. In her hands, the town's fate was retrieved. With courage and strength, she faced the threat. In Teacher's Pet, a memorable vignette. A lesson learned in that eerie hour. Not all that glitters is a blooming flower.
Yeah, this is a strange episode of Buffy, Martin. This might be our first not great episode.
There's still camp fun to it, though.
Oh, it's terrific. I'll tell you what, right? You took a look at my DVDs upstairs earlier. I've got a lot of B movies on the shelf.
Yeah.
Well, this is the ultimate B movie. This enormous praying mantis woman preying on school children and trying to lay eggs in them. Well, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so this is a controversial one in Buffy fandom, I would say. It's not regarded that highly.
No, one of a couple, I think. Yeah. Well, why do you think that is?
I think it's because it's written by a horny 15-year-old boy.
David Greenwald.
Yeah, the man who would go on to showrun Angel. It's written by... If I learned that his son wrote this...
Tonally, this is nothing like Angel at all. And I'm not saying writers can't put on different hats.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't imagine it, would you?
If you were to learn that his 15-year-old son wrote this at the time, would you be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I don't know, because there is a wit to this.
Yeah.
As I was going through, that dreadful praying mantis costume and things like this, the dialogue was still very funny. So I think there's a sophistication in the dialogue which might not be there in the storyline. I think perhaps David Greenwald was given this premise. What the hell am I going to do with this? You know,
it's like Helen Rayner being told to make some pig aliens.
Yeah. In New York.
Yeah.
You know, with a movie starlet. Yeah. So this is our first big Xander episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's two in series one. There's this and the Pack. And I'm going to make a pun and say I think the Pack is a better Xander episode. Because he is sort of treated like a bit of an idiot in this.
Yeah, he's very... This is a horny teenage boy's dream. I know there were certainly teachers at school that I wished would invite me back to theirs for martinis.
There was one teacher at my school called Mr. Woodward. I told you I'd get a story in every episode, didn't I? Called Mr. Woodward. And he used to come in wearing these little tight shorts, okay? And he was a bit effeminate. And it turns out, right, he got fired. The toilets were next to his English room, and he had a cupboard which he'd put a peephole in the cupboard.
Fucking hell.
I've only just said his surname there, so no one's really going to know who he is. But, yeah, it's all going on in Crawley, I'll tell you.
Jesus.
But, did I fancy... Actually, yeah, I did a bit. Jesus, I was in my teenage years, like Xander, we're all hot. What is it he says? Linoleum makes me horny, you know?
There was, I'll say their names. There was a teacher called Miss Price, and there's one called Miss Anderson, who was a Canadian teacher.
And you're about to tell me you slept with both?
No, that didn't happen. And my sister's 2 years younger than me, so she left school 2 years after me. A year after I left, Miss Anderson got deported for a failed visa or something. Literally, immigration came into the school and dragged her out.
Oh, wow.
So that's the kind of drama
going on in your school.
Yeah.
Move over, Buffy. Jesus, we'll just dramatise our lives.
But yeah, I remember every boy fancied those two teachers.
I don't ever remember there being a praying mantis on the loose in my school, which is a shame because it's quite a wacky idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and I love that the vampire's scared of it.
Yeah. Hang on. What is that vampire all about with the metal hands?
Where did he attach that to? Has he just put the stick down the stump and taped it?
What I thought was clever was the vampire is sort of posed to Buffy as the threat of the episode. So she goes off hunting him, and actually his ultimate sort of use is to find Miss French, isn't it? To find her house. So actually they do use that as a plot point in the climax.
It's good.
I'm not going to go as far as to say this is a clever episode, but that's a clever moment. What the boys at the beginning of the episode talking about their sexual conquests. Oh, jeez, I can remember having those conversations.
I can remember those happening. I remember being 13, and I'll name them. There's a boy named Andy and a boy named Anthony. And
nice chaps, were they?
Oh, they were talking about the women they've slept with. They were 13.
Oh, for God's sake.
And they were like, oh, yeah, I always just forget about it the next night. Oh, yeah, then I'm onto a new bird the next night. And I remember at the time believing them. And then when I was like 15, I got a girlfriend at school. And then I remember Andy saying to me, oh, what's it like to kiss a girl? And I remembered this conversation that it had. And I was thinking, but how do you not know?
Right.
And then I realised it was all bullshit.
Well, I'm not going to tell you right now what my count is because you may leave my house in fear that you may catch something from me. But back when I was a teenager, I mean, I didn't lose it till I was 15, you know. So any conversation I had before then, and I did have conversations before then, saying that I had slept with people. So when I was watching that scene with those two boys, I was like, yeah, well, I think maybe we've all been here.
It's just disconcerting because both boys look like they're 35.
Yes, although it does lead to this whole thing about lying about to Willow's line in the climax. Well, I just said to you, didn't I? What a bitch. She goes, it's so unfair that she only went for virgins. And I was like, Willow, that is the deepest insult cut so far on the show. Sandra's like, no.
You had to put them in their place.
Well, she does it extremely well. Miss French. That's a good performance.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. She's
very
great.
Sexy as well.
Oh, she is.
When she invites Sandra to her house and she's in that sort of black cocktail dress.
I would have gone. I would have gone.
You would.
I'd be in that cage
today. Yeah. But the whole student teacher thing, it's really icky.
Yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They wouldn't do it now, I don't think.
We've seen over the past couple of years. I've noticed that people have more objection to an age difference. Like if a celebrity's like 40 and going out with a 20-year-old, we see more people calling that out now. Whereas 20 years ago, you didn't see it. It's like in Jurassic Park, Sam Neill's 39 when he made that, and Laura Dunham is 23.
Okay,
and they're meant to be an old couple. And it's not that we saw that and thought he was younger or she was older. We saw that in 1993 and just didn't think about it. But now it seems over the last like decade or 20 years or so, people really care about an age gap. So it just seems extra icky now.
Like I realised she was a big bug.
Yeah.
And that's the joke. I just don't think we would have a piece of family drama like this where a teacher is grooming a child to come round and have sex
absolutely
with
not.
them.
They might do it if they're in college.
Maybe.
And they're over 18.
In that case.
They might do that.
What, they're supposed to be 17, 16?
16, 17.
Yeah, so all of those scenes where, she's going, oh, your hands are so warm and clammy and all that sort of, this is very uncomfortable to watch. But then, before long, we were down in the cell and the spectacular costume had been unveiled.
I love it.
I said to you, is it really dark in this cellar? And you went, yeah, that's for a reason. Yeah. So you can't see this bloody costume.
Oh, bless them. They tried.
They did. I did feel as if I was watching classic Doctor Who again for a second, with this sort of cumbersome, inanimate insect creature.
They had a couple of grand and a dream, and they made it happen.
They did. But they did at least turn the lights down, which Doctor Who often failed to do.
Oh, so. Doctor Who overlight sometimes. In the classic era, it's just so overlit.
But do you remember I said to you, God, I just said, time I can say this on an episode, we don't normally watch them together. Buffy's coming down the stairs and she's going, get away from him. I went, oh, this is going to be a hell of a fight. She's kicking at this praying mantis costume. And the director's trying his best.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's ever going to go down as the most successful Buffy action sequence.
Do you think they should George Lucas it and go back and do a CGI mantis?
No, it's all part of the charm in Series 1.
I did notice because you very kindly brought me the Buffy DVDs because I was watching on Disney Plus.
I can't have you watching those terrible upscale special effects.
I've noticed that there's certain lines that are cut from Disney Plus that are still on the DVD.
What is that to make it acceptable for the audiences?
Well,
today?
there's a couple of lines in The Witch where they're talking about Hitler, and that's completely gone from.
That's a bit sensitive, isn't it?
Yeah, completely gone from Disney Plus.
I mean, that's overly sensitive.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Yeah.
Keep in the grooming, but take out Hitler. Jesus Christ. What was the teacher's name? Dr. Gregory at the beginning.
Oh, he's such a sweet man.
And he has a brilliant line where he says to Buffy, don't be sorry, be smart.
Yeah.
That's just great advice to anyone.
And, sadly a virgin.
Yeah, and dead. Oh, yeah, of course. I missed that. Of course he is. Yeah, she only goes for virgins. He gets beheaded in a horrible way. But we had another sequence where someone finds someone in a cupboard. Well, it was in a fridge this time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's that bitch, Cordelia.
Getting her prescribed lunch.
I got my bespoke lunch coming in from my doctor every day. Ah! Oh, man. That was the bit that made me laugh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She's great. She really is. Okay, what did you think of the special effects of the Exorcist twist?
Oh, when she's clearly just, I don't know how they did it. I guess they put a dummy there and she turned around behind it, I guess.
It looked. I mean, obviously, it was an electronic effect. That wasn't a physical effect, was it?
I don't think so.
It did look a bit. It looked a bit like one of those Big Finish covers where they badly photoshopped someone's head on someone's body. You know, sorry, we keep mentioning Big Finish. I don't know if anyone's going to know what we're talking about. They're an audio drama series. Our favourite was in this.
Principal Fruity.
Principal Fruity. You need counselling, Martyn. I like the bit where he said to Buffy, "Heal," and she sat down like a dog.
I love it when he says, "If you ever want a hug, I'm here, but not a proper hug. We don't allow touching in this school.
If you don't have counselling, you're going to end up overdosing on laxatives."
Yeah.
He says, he's only in a couple more, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess you get really constipated because you were scared, I guess.
I think he's thinking about Class A drugs, but he just said laxatives by mistake. Oh, he's so cute, though.
Yeah.
I maybe would have kept him for the season.
Yeah.
They could have bumped him off in the finale.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have had more impacts. Cool. But I wouldn't want to lose Armin Shimmerman.
Oh, he's so good.
Snyder. What is it? That's the sort of woolly thinking that ends up getting eaten. It's great.
And he, jumping ahead, he clearly knows what's going down in Sunnydale. So, yeah, it's a lot more interesting.
Lots of interesting behind-the-scenes stuff going on there. Boreanaz in a white tank top.
Oh, looking hot.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Thank God you were there. I could have had a moment, you know. But, I mean, he's moved on because 2 episodes ago he was wearing those enormous white-collared shirts like it was something from the 1900s.
Well, flashing forwards, we learned that he's actually homeless around this period, so maybe he's just stealing stuff from outside charity shops.
Well, whatever. He's improved his look.
Yeah.
And his hair is up. Did you notice his hair in this one?
Hair perfect. I was jealous. It made me want to go to Turkey again.
I remember seeing Buffy and Spike together in this and going, yeah, you can see why they were such an iconic couple. Like, the chemistry is real, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I love Spike when he comes in. And I think the relationship between Buffy and Spike, sorry, spoilers, is more interesting because it's sort of dark and
it shouldn't be happening.
Complex. Yeah, it's that whole... almost like having an affair because she don't want to tell her friends, does she?
Yeah.
But in terms of like sizzling chemistry, like the crackles on the screen, this pair have got it.
Yeah.
I was talking about Star Trek recently, about how Star Trek in the 90s, they just couldn't do like sexual chemistry. It just bombed every time they tried to do it. But how they could nowadays, it's amazing in the Star Trek shows. Like, they get good actors and blah blah. Well, Buffy has it. I think every couple they do in Buffy, it works on that level. Yeah,
it does.
It's
you believe it all.
You know,
you believe it all. And Angel gives her his leather jacket here, which she continues to wear.
I don't know where that sentence was going then.
I gave a girl a hoodie once, and I used that line when she tried to give it back to me, and I was like, "No, it looks better on you," and then I walked away.
He was your Bible, wasn't he, for dating?
I didn't know how to be. Like, it didn't happen for me until I was like 18.
As we go through seasons 1 to 3, I'm hoping to hear more and more stories. I don't know if you'll ever top the sitting there silent on your date.
I mean, I should clarify. I did talk to her. Like, I wasn't just silent the whole thing. But
No.
It was 1 or 2 words.
Every time we bring this up, I'm going to make it more of a thing, you know. What else have I got here? Hang on. Oh, does the name Musetta Vanda mean anything to you?
No, who's that?
That's the actress who played Miss French.
Oh.
Now, I took a quick look on her IMDb whilst we were watching it, and fabulous resources these days, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Facts at your fingertips. She's mostly done B movies, so she was absolutely perfect for
perfect.
this. I've noted down a couple. The Mosquito Man sounded particularly good, and, you ready for this? Transalmania.
I got to watch it.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do that as a special double bill.
You know, we should look at the movies of people that have been in Buffy at some point. Because I remember going to the cinema to see one that David Boreanaz was in. It's called like Valentine's or Valentine's Day, something like that.
We should do a commentary on I Know You Did Last Summer. Sarah Michelle Gellar gets killed horribly in that.
Yeah.
And, of course, we can watch Alison Hannigan playing with her flute.
Yeah, any day. No, there's this line in the one David Boreanaz did. There's this line where they say he's no angel. And I've always wondered, was that always in the script or was that put in because...
That's a very knowing line, if it is. I want to very quickly just talk about the comedy subplots that they sometimes put in Buffy
go on.
episodes. Well, because I think we said in our first episode that the humour was always on point, and it was a nice way of the audience relaxing into the show. Well, you had scenes in this with Giles and his mate back in the UK, who's in a straitjacket because he's come across the praying mantis in the past. So he's on the phone to the fella, and he goes, "Yes, you were right about everything. I'm so sorry." And then he goes, "No, you weren't right about your mother coming back as a Pekingese," which is such a brilliant.
I love the bit with a tape recorder because they've recorded some bat sonar. And then it's the wrong way around because remember you could have two sides to a tape.
A great gag, isn't it?
Nowadays she would have YouTube up and she'd press play and it would be an ad.
Yeah. So like, look, we've said this is not the best episode of Buffy. It is fun though.
It's fun to talk about.
So we're not far into this yet. Are we going to find a bad episode of Buffy? Because I had a great time watching that.
Yeah,
today.
I don't know if there's ever actually a bad episode of Buffy. There's definitely ones that aren't as good as others, but I wouldn't say any of them are terrible.
Well, I mean, you've got those sort of top tiers, haven't you? The ones that is on everybody's
Hush, Once More Feeling,
yeah. There's a few sort of controversial. I put Passion in there as well in series 2.
Passion's good.
I mean, I'd put The Storyteller from series 7 in there, the Andrew episode. I think that's gone.
I've got another confession to make, actually.
Well,
when I was in college doing performing arts,
go on.
I nicked the poem that Angelus reads in Passion because we were meant to have written a poem. And I was like, I haven't written one. And that episode had been on the night before, so I just transcribed it, handed it in. And then my teacher was like, that's the best poem I've read in like 20 years of being a teacher. I want to submit it to this festival. And then I was like... And then I basically had this really antagonistic relationship with her afterwards because I was like, no. And she's like, but you're really talented. You could win this. And I was like, no, because I didn't want to admit that I'd ripped it off. So I was like, no, I got no interest in that.
Now I know why you want to do this podcast. You've got all of this, you haven't dealt with any of this stuff from your childhood that Buffy caused.
It's therapy.
Bless your heart.
It's cheaper than therapy.
May I ask you a personal question?
You can.
How successful...
Oh, you got post.
Something's coming through the door. How successful, has your romantic life been?
All right. Yeah, I mean...
Don't undersell it, come on.
I was in a relationship with someone for 12 years, and I've been with my fiancé now for 6.
Well, then you've heard it here first, folks. Watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Pay close attention to Angel. It's your route to a successful romantic life.
Well, I had to stop that when my hair went because nobody thinks you look like Angel when you're bald.
No, but you can do the Captain Picard and all of that.
True, I can pretend I'm the master.
Yeah, did you see that joke online that Nathan put that I've got a thing for podcast hosts that are bald with beards?
There might be a truth to that.
Definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. Is there anything else here? Oh, one last thing. Willow and the internet. I'm going to keep bringing this up because her astonishing internet skills. She can do anything.
Oh, yeah.
She can get any facts they need, any plans, government files.
I love watching 90s internet, especially in there's a Sandra Bullock film called The Net, and it's just like the internet can do anything. Hackers where it's all like a 3D mainframe and you go into it. And
what they need is that old dial-up noise. It's like,
it's a shame that's not here.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, my mum and dad had dial-up until about 2008. They had it long after I'd moved down.
Can I confess something now?
Yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, actually, I probably should wait for iRobot You Jane because that's all about the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I'll confess something then as well.
But I've got another story for that episode. I love these personal recollections. Do you remember, though, with this whole dial-up, when the picture on the screen would come down sort of a third of the screen at the time?
Oh, you had to schedule your masturbation, yeah. Yeah,
jeez, it was the longest wanks I've ever had in my life.
If you were to wank at 10 p.m, you had to start downloading at 8 a.m.
Jesus, you don't get that on other podcast phones. But you know what? I summed this up at the top of the sheet by saying it's a bit shit, but it's still really fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was even more fun watching it with you here. Because we don't normally get to watch them together.
There is something really, really... Doing it live like that is really fun. But I'm going to say Teacher's Pet, The Witch... The Harvest. No. Welcome to the Hellmouth, The Harvest. So
Yeah.
we're kind of almost doing the law of diminishing returns at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. Series 1, it gets a bad rap, but they're very much finding their feet, and the essence is here. It's all here. The ingredients are nearly right.
It's just like it's really sunny and energetic. And I know I said that in the last one, but Buffy goes to some very dark places. And so whilst it's just having a laugh, come series 7, where we've had series 6, and actually somebody in the production team, Sarah Michelle Gellar, said to Joss Whedon and Martin Oxon, this is really dark. I want to start having fun again.
Yeah.
So the fact that they had to say that at some point, that's not a problem here, So even if the episodes are a bit subpar, you'll enjoy them. They're fun.
In Sunnydale, where the vampires roam, a date for Buffy became a dangerous home. In Never Kill a Boy on a First Date, we find a Slayer's love life and her duty intertwined. Owen, the boy with a heart so kind, caught Buffy's eye, a rare love she'd find. But as they dined and stars above did gleam, the Master's evil plot began to teem. Buffy's duty called, a choice to be made, between her heart's desire and the world's crusade. In the end, her destiny she couldn't evade. The battle with vampires, her true path displayed. In this episode, a lesson was told. The life of a Slayer, so brave and bold. Love and duty, a constant debate. And never kill a boy on a first date.
Another episode that we watched in person.
Another one.
Yeah.
This has been fun, though. I think I prefer doing it this way.
Well, and watching and then recording straight off. You're getting our freshest insights we could possibly give you.
Yeah, we just stopped watching. We walked into the next room and we started recording.
The annoying thing is we're probably watching together the two, least impressive Series 1 episodes.
Yeah.
But never mind. That's luck of the draw.
So, Never Kill a Boy on a First Date. I remember this being dog shit.
Me too.
If I'm quite frank.
I do think this is the weakest.
Oh, it's the weakest.
So far.
Owen's just a bland character.
Oh my god, he's so boring, man. He makes Buffy a boring character, and I never thought I'd say that because he is so boring. And she sort of fawns over him throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're kind of led to believe that he's this boy that all the girls like at school. Never mentioned before. Never mentioned again.
Well, looking back at my time at school, nobody was obsessed with the poet geek that walked around looking like he's come out of Pride and Prejudice and enjoys hanging out in funeral homes. That wasn't the popular.
No.
I think the idea is he's supposed to be the sort of the quiet, brooding sort. But that's Angel.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need another character doing that in this show. And I guess, I don't know, we're meant to see her love life fail before she eventually gets with Angel, maybe.
Maybe. Well, yeah, but then you get Angel and Owen in a scene together.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, fellow who plays Owen, I'm sure you went on to do amazing work. But David Boreanaz is there, so no one's looking at you anymore,
Yeah, and Angel's a bit out of character for this. We don't really see him being jealous any other time than this.
No. Well, then I don't think we ever see Buffy on a date with someone else, do we?
No, that's true.
Oh, no, Scott Hope in Series 3.
Oh, yes.
That little kid.
Yeah.
That's the one time I feel like they've cast younger than they should have done.
Yeah, that's true.
Rather than older.
That's true.
I'll tell you what I thought they were going for in this. I thought they were trying to do like a screwball comedy. The idea is Buffy's got a date, and on the same night, some spectacular demonic shit is going to go down, and she's got to try and juggle up both things.
Yeah.
And but it just doesn't have like the... I do think the direction's at fault here, because I thought some of the sequences in the funeral home were a bit laboured and not as tight and as scary as they could be. But in the best comedies, when it's fast and witty, and I'm trying to think of a good example. Do you remember in Mrs. Doubtfire, where they're trying to go between the two tables all the time?
Yeah.
And it's fast and it's witty.
That's what you need.
And there's panic, as things go wrong. Whereas this is like Buffy just going, oh, God, I want to go on a date, and I'm stuck here in a graveyard. Where it worked, I thought, was with Giles. Giles was getting the best lines.
Yeah.
And was the funniest person in this.
And we see more of him moving into becoming her surrogate father in this episode.
Scenes were fabulous.
Yeah, the scene at the end where he's talking her through her life and and his experiences. It's a really sweet moment. I love that relationship.
He says to us, we feel our way as we go along.
Yeah.
Like we're learning together to get us right, because he goes off to try and stop the rising of the Anointed One, or whatever that's supposed to be, and winds up in the funeral home surrounded by vampires.
Yeah, he's the most action orientated, I would say, of the Watchers.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even he's not capable, really.
Not yet.
He's Buffy to come along.
When he got in that fight outside the funeral home, I was thinking, Giles by about series 5 would have taken these two down.
Yeah, well, there's some bits later on in the series where he's scary as hell.
Yeah.
He murders somebody in one story in a very memorable sequence.
That's so good.
So he's got a bit of bite to him, if you're... Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Owen.
Go on then.
Well, I'll tell you what was funny about Owen was how Cordelia, who is in spectacular form of bitchiness once again. When we get towards the end of this first season, there's an episode, isn't there? Is it Invisible Girl? I can't remember what it's called. The girl's turning invisible because nobody acknowledges her at all.
Yeah.
And Cordelia's horrible to her in that as well. And you suddenly start to see a more sympathetic side to her.
Yeah.
I think we're heading that way. They're showing us all this sort of really nasty stuff, because there's a bit in this where Buffy's dancing with Owen and Cordelia goes up to her and goes, "Oh, Owen, here you are, all by yourself."
Yeah. Such a bitchy thing.
I know. And then she sees Angel and goes, "Hello, salty goodness."
As I guess most people would.
Oh, I certainly would, yeah. All right, well, what do you think about the whole Anointed One plot? Because your favourite's back, the Master.
The Master, yeah, he's back. I still think they want to keep him down there. I don't think those vampires actually want him coming out of there, because they're all a bit sloppy.
Yeah.
They all get killed by Buffy. And I think, they don't want him coming up. They're trying to keep him down there. They like the fact that he's down there.
Well, I mean, he's on a bit in the pre-title sequence where he's reading out the scripture.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, and there's the bit here. One of the vampires will go out and have a feast the night before on the hunt for the Anointed One." Oh, wait. It doesn't say that at all. And he literally, the stunt's great. He picks him up by the throat and throws him across the room.
It's so good. He's so menacing. And it's a shame he's a one and done villain.
Yeah, and because I remember at the end of the season when he does eventually rise, it's literally for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he's done.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. We could have done a lot more of him.
But first appearance of the Anointed One, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that was the best part of this, actually.
Yeah.
They don't do much for that kid going on, but it's a great twist at the end of the episode, because you've got this religious nutter who's a vampire on the bus that this kid is on. So you think the vampire is the Anointed One. That's what they're leading you to think. And then he crashes the bus, so 5 are killed, which is what the prophecy was. And I guess you think the kid's dead at that point. And then the very last scene, the kid's revealed. And, where do they get these scary kids from?
There must be a casting agent that just deals with scary kids.
Freaky Brood Anonymous or something like that.
But yeah, I remember reading, it was one of the writer's tales, and Joss Whedon was asked about why the Anointed One goes out in series 2, and he just said that they hadn't thought about how quickly kids age.
Right.
So if you cast a 10-year-old one season, by the end of the next season, he's going to be visibly older.
Didn't you say as well that he couldn't do the hours because he was young?
Yeah, because he's young and there's night shoots. And
I mean, like, when they do get him to act, he isn't a great actor either.
Yeah,
so.
it's hard for kids.
No, I mean, spoiler, his death is a spectacular moment. I love that bit so much. Doesn't he call it? Spike calls him the annoying one.
Yeah.
He? But at this point, we're like, well, what's he all about? Do you remember what his big part in Buffy's downfall is?
Yeah, he gets her to come down to the floor. Yeah,
that's it. It's shit. Much like this episode.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this one. It's not even like campy, fun B movie like the Praying Mantis.
Well, I've got a few more things I'd like to address with you, okay? Can we add to our Sunnydale geography the funeral home?
Yep.
So what have we got so far?
So far, we've got the water plantation plant.
That's right.
We've got a bronze. We've got
school.
high school.
And we've got the funeral home.
We've got the funeral home.
But by the time we get to the end, there's a castle. There's a lot going on. But we do go back to the funeral home quite a few times.
Yeah.
There's a couple of... I remember there's one sequence in a series 6 or 7 episode where they're inside a coffin. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Buffy and Dawn just get out of a coffin and go, oh, well, they're gone. Like,
Yeah.
I
I love that Giles hid in the drawers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he comes out and he's visibly cold for like 10 minutes.
What's the line he says? I'm just hanging out with my mate in here. You know, he didn't mind me.
Yeah, this chap let me bunk up or something.
Yeah. Which I really like.
Something you brought up earlier that we didn't record about is how Giles feels a lot more stereotypically English in this series than he does later on.
I think come 2, he calms down that sort of awfully. I don't know if you watch Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart's doing it as well in the first
he
series.
does calm down, yeah.
He's very, very English, and then he's in series 2, he's just slightly English. Whereas Giles is here going, oh, tar, and all of this, you know, what ho, old bean.
What I always forget is that's not Anthony Stewart Head's real voice, Giles.
He's got a Cockney accent.
Yeah, he's quite Cockney, yeah. So, it's kind of difficult.
Remember when he's younged up in Band Candy?
Yeah, the accent comes back.
That's when he does his proper accent.
Yeah, that's how he really sounds.
Yeah. Oh, man. Can't wait till we get to that. So, okay, Sunnydale geography. What about his car?
Oh, his car's an old banger. Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's an old banger. That car. I said to you, didn't I? I remember it in Series 6 when he gets his sports car.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, I must show them my car. I bet he's not doing that at the moment. Do you know what the car that is? I should probably look that up.
No, I don't know.
Do we see this one again?
I think we do.
I don't think we see it moving.
I've got a feeling that he gets attacked when he's in it, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, no, it's not great. And I've got to say that I've actually thought the best of this episode was Giles having to deal with Buffy's hormones.
Yeah.
Because he's constantly going, I don't understand that girl at all. Like, you know, there's this danger to Sunnydale coming. And she wants to go on a date. Well, he's met Owen, so he's probably like, oh, what the hell?
Oh, Owen, the man who looks about 40.
It's odd casting.
He looks older than David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
And David Boreanaz was what, 26, 27?
Yeah, not great. You know the bit where the vampires do attack the bus and you hear people screaming?
Yeah.
I was watching that and I was like, why isn't this scarier?
You think it would be
really scary, and I figured like there's no one on that bus we give a shit about. That's why.
Yeah.
It's just a load of faceless victims.
And you get the guy quoting the Bible at the start, and you're like, all right, he's the nutter.
But Buffy's always so good at the show. Is so good at putting the regulars in danger. It's really odd to just have a scene with a load of random people that we don't know. It's like you said last week. They're sort of feeling their way in, and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Can I draw your attention to the library set?
Yes, go on.
Well, one, I just realised how well lit it was in this, because obviously, as we said, it's all inside that warehouse.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like a sunny room. So they've got windows at the top, and they're lighting that really, really well. And at night, obviously, they change the lighting. Joss Whedon said in the pilot commentary he wanted that library set to be like a massive, scary labyrinth, and vast. And unfortunately, WB could only afford a small room. But actually, I think the fact that it's really cozy, that works to the show's advantage. It feels like a safe place for all the characters to hang out.
Yeah. And we never really see all of it. We only ever really see that lobby area. So it's always nice when you go up into the stacks and you see the books up there.
It's quite rare, isn't it? We don't often go up there. I remember one time, I think Willow's under a load of books. Doesn't a bookshelf get pushed on her at some point? Yeah, I really like that set. Like every season later on, they basically move to a new location, don't they?
Yeah.
One, we've got the university.
Yeah, and there's Giles's house.
Oh, you got the magic box, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then Buffy's house, probably for the last 2 seasons, it's all Buffy's house, isn't it? And the magic box. But I think the library might be the best one.
Yeah. That's why Torchwood did the hub. It was directly because it was based on the Buffy library.
I mean, that's a great set as well.
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. I wish I could have gone there.
Lots of face. What else have I got here? Oh, there was the bit at the end, when Buffy's killing that vampire, going, "You killed my date, you killed my," and Sarah Michelle Gellar's giving it some
She's
winning.
really going for it, yeah.
Like, she uses that anger in her performance in other scenes later on in a much better way. But it's nice to see that sort of level of intensity
It's coming in now, yeah.
Yeah, I always remember the bit in spoilers in the final episode where she's tossing the books at Giles. Do you remember? She's going, "Read me my fortune." I don't want to die, Giles, and she really can bring it up because I think so far we've seen a level of acting from her which is fun and spunky and joyful. But as we go on, I mean, Jesus, the first 5 minutes of The Body, we're going to see some serious acting from her as the series goes on. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Well, this is Never Kill a Boy on His First Date, and I'm going to try and get a story out of you in every single episode. What's the worst date you've ever been on?
Oh, worst.
Well, this is the worst date Buffy's ever had.
Oh, worst.
You go first.
One of my first ever dates, it was a girl from college. She was like, "Oh, I live behind this pub. Do you want to come to this pub?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I got there. She brought her aunt and uncle with her.
Right.
And we were 17.
Chaperones?
Yeah, I guess so. But at the same time, they paid for everything. So it was actually a pretty good date. And I just got paid that day. I think I got paid 30 quid or whatever it was. So I kept that 30 quid for the week.
That's not a bad date.
So it's not a bad date. Then I've got a woman I matched with on Tinder once. And I went round her house, and halfway through doing something, she started crying about her ex-husband.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
And it was my birthday as well.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
that might be the worst one.
I've got one for you then. You ready for this?
Yeah.
So I was effectively catfished, but not really catfished. He sent a picture that was 10 years younger.
Okay.
So I was expecting this young, slim, dark-haired bloke to turn up, and he's taking me up the South Downs. So I'm going to bring a picnic. Yeah, but he did. He's bringing strawberries and chocolate and all of this. We're going to have a great time. I thought, oh, beautiful man, romantic picnic. We'll have a great time. We turned up, and he's maybe 20 years older than that picture. And he's put on a lot of weight, and he's got grey hair. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but he wasn't as he advertised.
He misrepresented himself.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we go up the South Downs, and that's the geographical location, I would add. And I had no intention of anything romantic. He kept trying to take my hand as we were walking over the hills, and I just sort of kept pulling away. And then he had this massive breakdown, and he went, "It never happens for me. No one ever likes me." Like that. I said, "Mate, you sent me a picture clearly 20 years ago." And it turned into a massive therapy session. He broke down into tears. No man ever likes him. I said to him at one point, "The man of your dreams could be just over that hill." I said, "You've got to be optimistic." We went over a hill, and guess what? He went, "I told you he wouldn't be here." I was like, "I'm speaking metaphorically, you twat." So it isn't just Buffy. Martin and I have also had our moments.
Yeah, I remember I got jealous. There's this girl I was kind of seeing, and we used to go to this place called the Black Sheep Bar in Croydon, and I went there every Thursday because it was rock night, and I went there. And we'd been flirting and kissing and whatever. And I went there, she was kissing someone else. And I was like, I kind of lost it a bit then.
Oh,
but I was like 20, 21.
Yeah.
I wouldn't act that way now.
It's a bit like Buffy when she sees Owen dancing with Cordelia in this episode, What do they see in him? I don't get it at all. I've got some quotes, if you would indulge me. I did like Giles saying to Buffy, "The fact that you want to take out a book at all is grounds for a national holiday." That was a great line. Oh, and Buffy can throw some shade as well, because when Cordelia knocks her out of the way, she goes, "Oh, Cordelia's hips are wider than I thought."
Yeah.
You've got to remember some of these, for the future. I'll use them. And she says to Giles, who's been very sarky with her, she goes, "At this point, you are abusing sarcasm."
Yeah, that was good.
So it's still got the peppy lines.
Yeah, that's what sets this show above something like Charmed, is I don't feel Charmed ever went for the humour.
No.
Whereas Buffy, it really went for the humour, and you would get like these really scary moments, but they were balanced out with humour, and that's what a good horror comedy does.
It takes a lot of confidence to bounce between scares and laughs.
Yeah.
With the sort of frequency that Buffy does. I think sort of come series 2, though, all of it is elevated. So the lines are sharper,
Yeah.
and the scares are scarier, and the emotions cut deeper. So it was all right.
It was all right. Yeah.
Like, I certainly wouldn't recommend this to anybody.
Oh, if you've never seen Buffy, don't start with this episode.
No, there was just something about the last third in the funeral home that wasn't clicking for me.
Yeah.
It might have just been Owen wandering around going, "Oh, this is so cool," like we're in a dangerous moment. But there's the decision that she makes at the end to basically sacrifice her happiness. I don't think she was going to be happy with him, but
No.
to give him up because he's now a danger junkie and he wants to. What do you imagine happened to Owen in the end then?
I bet he got on a motorcycle without a helmet and crashed. I think that's what happened to him.
I figured he went down the graveyard the next day and got bitten.
That's probably more likely.
We should have seen him as a vampire in a couple of weeks and went, "Oh, and I told him not to."
I wonder, like, property must be really cheap in Sunnydale, but I bet insurance is through the roof.
I think they make a joke about that in Series 4 about property. Oh, I bought this beautiful house. It was going really cheap because the murder rate is so high or something like that. Yeah. I mean, what else can we say about this one? It's our first truly average episode of Buffy.
Yeah.
I think it's as weak as Series 1 gets.
I remember I, Robot You, Jane being weaker, but we'll see.
Oh, I remember that being really fun.
It might be.
No one rates the Puppet Show, and I love that.
I love that one. Yeah.
I mean, that's the first one with Snyder.
Yes.
But,
yeah, that's a good one.
I've got a feeling that next week we are swinging dramatically in the other direction.
Yes.
Because that episode is...
Is that one Angel?
It is.
It's Angel, yes.
Yeah,
I remember that surprise being spoiled for me because I saw Series 2 first.
Oh, shit.
So I already knew.
It's got one of the best ever cliffhanger into the adverts they ever did, is where Buffy kisses Angel, and we were not there yet.
Yeah. We'll do that next week.
God, it's great. And unfortunately, whilst there are fun parts of this isn't great.
Yeah. You could tell they're being very cautious with the budget in the series because there isn't any.
No, well, we're just visiting all the usual sets, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this season we really stretch our wings very much.
Yeah, not a lot.
Do we? And in terms of sort of special effects sequences, there was a bit of makeup in this. There was more vampires.
Vampire makeup.
Obviously, the Master's back, and that's got to be a hell of a makeup job.
Yeah. We should tell our listeners we're thinking about doing a live stream on Halloween.
Yeah.
Potentially.
What are we going to do?
We could dress up as vampires.
Oh, yeah, no, but what are we going to watch? Or are we just going to do an episode?
We just do an episode.
Oh.
Or do we do like a best of Buffy?
Oh, that would be pretty good. I'm not sure. We'll have a think.
Yeah.
But if you're enticed by the thought of me and Martin decked out like vampires,
well, we'll do it live on YouTube, I guess.
Can we record it in the middle of the night? Because I look like a vampire when I wake up at 3 a.m. Anyway.
Same. Yeah, perfect.
Ghostly pallor and weird incisors. But yeah, that should be fun. I think this is the weakest we're going to see for some time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm not at all regretful that we never see Owen again.
No, he died in that graveyard or on that motorbike.
It's very rare to say that a character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a boring turd. Congratulations, Owen, because you've succeeded in that.
Boring
respect.
turd of the week.
Yeah, of the series.
Well,
we'll see if anyone else takes the crown, but I can't see it. Oh yeah, Kennedy. Your
King
favourite.
Kennedy.
Oh no. Whenever you're 2, I shall mention that name, and bring you back to earth. Never kill a boy on a first date. Good advice, not good episode.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Another short one this week. We'll be back next week when we're talking about the episode Angel. So we did film a special thing for YouTube. If you go up there, we're taking more entertainment, i.e. called the Ultimate Buffy Quiz. So head on over to YouTube to see that.
And given what you've listened to so far, have a good guess at how well we did. You might be surprised.
Oh, I just want to tell people we have launched a Ko-Fi or a Ko-Fi, whatever it is, because we're trying to buy some better audio equipment.
If you don't like how we're sounding right now, okay, give us your money.
So the link's in the description. We're trying to get 2 microphones, but they're very expensive.
What's that, Martin? No, that's just me doing that.
And also, it'd be nice that we're doing this one in person. It would be nice to do more, but train travel and all of that. So if you can, don't feel obligated to, but if you could kick in like £1 or £2,
anything you're willing to give.
Any money we get will be reinvested back into the show.
And we've got a long journey to go.